Would you please welcome Pam Foster?
I have been looking forward with much anticipation in joining you all for lunch today. I am so excited to have been invited and to get a chance to talk about all the things that are dear to my heart. So please continue enjoying your lunch. Have a bite of dessert. I hear it's really good. One of the things that they asked me to talk about a bit was me. So it's important for you to know that I am from Fort Worth. I was born at St. Joseph when a little louder. Okay, they're saying a little louder. Thank you. He said he was recording it, no pressure. I was born in Fort Worth back when St. Joseph's was really a hospital, so that will tell you, some of you, how long I've been here. I actually went to Texas Wesleyan and enjoyed my time there very much. Went to Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary back when it was somewhere I was proud to be. And just finished a year ago, December, my doctorate in ministry from Logsdon Seminary, which is part of Hardin-Simmons University in Abilene. I'm very pleased to have graduated from there. So there are some in my family who will say I was educated beyond my capacity, but I don't think that's true. I appreciate so much the opportunity to talk about Cook Children's. We are a wonderful place. It is inevitable in a fallen world that children get sick, that families need us. And since that is going to be true, there is no better place to be than Cook Children's. This year, the year that you are celebrating sacred spaces, you're also celebrating your faith, your hope, and your love in action. And you, the United Methodist Women, are known for caring for children, believing that safety, security, education, basic human rights, including health care, are all essential for a child to grow into loving and secure adults. Ladies, I can stand on that. I'm grateful to know that about you. Our missions are very similar. Cook Children's healthcare system writes its mission as a promise because we've said children understand promises. Knowing that every child's life is sacred, it is the promise of Cook Children's to improve the health of every child in our region through the prevention and treatment of illness, injury, and disease. Now, pastoral care has a spot in an institution that declares every child's life is sacred. Just between us, I've been known to bring that up. Well, do we mean they're just sacred Monday through Friday? I need some weekend coverage. Do we mean they're sacred only when they're in the building, or does that carry on outside? So I've been known to use our promise as a platform to speak to the very things that you all also believe in: safety, security, education, and basic human rights. And I've been there 11 years, so I'm still speaking. Like you, pastoral care believes that children have a voice and that we must make safe spaces for children's voices to be heard. And in cases where children cannot give voice to what is important to themselves, pastoral care seeks to speak on their behalf. We are an integral part of the medical center. We have an entire staff, including 2 support staff, of 22. Ladies, that is incredible. I have colleagues across the country who are 1 chaplain medical centers. I have 7 staff who work on call. They wait for the opportunity to be called into our building. They have full-time jobs outside of Cook Children's, and they are our on-call staff. The shortest tenured one has been there 18 months. The longest one has been there 19 years. He has served our on-call staff for 19 years. We must be doing something well there. The day staff is comprised of people who have been there between 29 years and 2. So I felt very fortunate indeed to get to become part of the full-time staff there. I only had to be on call for 2 years before I could get into the day staff. It's an important place to be, and it's a good place to be. Pastoral Care's mission, which goes along with the promise, is to nurture the spirit of cooked children's. When we decided that we would do that, we knew that we would be stepping out to assist in securing a patient's needed faith-specific items. Well, you ask, Pam, what does that mean? It means that we serve you and your child regardless of your faith stance. I say we serve people of all faiths or none, because nobody is neutral when a child is ill. No one. From our housekeeping staff to our CEO, no one is neutral about a child who is ill. So faith has an important part in that. Regardless of the language that people use, they have a faith about what happens to children. And we get a chance to accompany people on that faith journey while they are in the medical center. We have great boundaries. Once you leave the medical center, we want you to be part of your congregation. We want you to be part of the faith, the family that you belong to. But when you're at the medical center, we realize there are lots of reasons that you might not be able to stay with that, and we're there for you. We understand a bit of the medicalese that's spoken there. Who has not experienced that, either at Cook Children's or somewhere else? Doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, they all speak a different language. Chaplains get to be in there, and we recognize the look on a parent's face. Sometimes we call it that confused German Shepherd look, one ear's down, one ear's up. And you know that they're nodding, but they're not getting it. We can say, oh so graciously, Doctor, I think Mom might have a question right now. Mom, are you getting what's being said here? And then Mom can say, no. But the physicians, God loves them all, we do, but they are so used to speaking at a different level that when they start using words that are normal to their vocabulary, the rest of us really do get that confused look. And so pastoral care lives in that world between the medicalese and the normal, and we can speak into that. And they expect us to. One of my favorite physicians, who is a pediatric intensivist, that should tell you something about their calling and their personality. He's a pediatric intensivist. He says, Pam, I don't know exactly what you do, but I know it's better when you're there. That's what we want. We want things to be smoother when pastoral care is involved. To be a chaplain at Cook Children's, you must have at minimum a master's degree in theology or divinity from an accredited university. So you can't have gone online to the University of the Bermuda Triangle and gotten your degree and then applied to work for us. We don't accept that. There are people who've thought that would work. More than half of our staff have doctorates in their specialization. I have a couple who have doctorates in pastoral care and counseling, one who has a doctorate in the resiliency of fire safety families, one whose doctorate is in sacred spaces, spent some time talking about what it means to set up a worship space and make that a sacred space. And then my doctorate is in fostering resiliency in pediatric chaplains who suffer from spiritual distress. I would love to bore you with that conversation sometime. But all that says to you is that we are qualified to be where we are. We have to have done at least one unit, which is 400 hours, of what they call clinical pastoral education. It's like a residency for a physician. Most of us have done a year of that, where we work inside a medical center. We do on call overnight. We spend the night in the building. We handle all the grunt work while we're there. So all of us had to have had at least one unit. Most of us have done a year. Several of us have done 2 years so that we have a specialization. Why am I telling you this? There are some medical centers that do not place the focus on sacred like we do, and you might get a volunteer chaplain. At Cook Children's, when you call a chaplain, you get a professional chaplain. Not only have we been well educated and trained, we are also endorsed by our body of faith. So that means that if you're a Baptist, Baptists require you to be ordained. So we have ordained Baptist ministers. If your denomination does not recognize ordination, then there is something that they do recognize. You have to go through your body of believers, and they have to say in writing to our department that you are qualified with gifts of ministry, and we've seen them exemplified in your life and your work. So we are professional chaplains. Doesn't mean we don't work with our own community of faith. We do. We might even teach Sunday school. But most of us are involved in our own congregations. But when we come to the medical center, we put our particular brand of faith in a nice container and close the lid, and we serve everyone. And I can speak from experience and tell you all that in the trenches, no one has ever asked me what seminary I went to. No one has ever asked me what church I belong to. No one has ever asked me what denomination I am. They want to know that I am there, that our chaplains are there, holding their hand, praying with them, standing quietly with them. The best picture I had, one of my favorite chaplains who is now retired, said, "Pam, I'm like the 2 men on the road to Emmaus. We're walking along, Christ intersected, they walked away together, and then they parted." We don't know how long our road to Emmaus experience will be with a patient and their family. We don't know. We actually have had someone there over 400 days. Sometimes we get them for 4 hours, so we just don't know. And so we step in and walk with them for a distance in whatever way they feel they need. Sometimes people want us to come pray every time they're drawing blood. They want us to be right there. They want us to hold their hand. They want us to pray with their child. We pray for the phlebotomist who is doing that. Sometimes they say, "Thanks for coming. My pastor comes too." Okay, we don't have a need to manufacture a need to be there. We simply want to be on your journey as it is helpful to you. We provide rosaries. Until last Friday, we had a part-time Roman Catholic priest. He was 82 and he retired, and we are very sad. So please feel free to pray with me that we will get another. There's a huge shortage. We can get a prayer rug for our friends who worship in the Islamic faith. We can do that. We can get them a Quran. We have imams in the community that we can call who will come be with a family that needs that kind of prayer support. We get other sacred texts. We can get a copy of the Buddhist sacred text, or we have recently had reason to interact a lot. What's the best way to say that? A lot. With a family who has immigrated from Nepal. They were in a refugee camp from Nepal. They came from Bhutan, and they needed a Nepalese holy man. Y'all, you don't find one on Google. I just want you to know. But we were able to find one, and through the chaplain, through the translator, we were able to identify what the family's needs were, contact the holy man, that's what they called him, the shaman, identify him, and set up a time where the holy man could come to the medical center for a prayer ritual. We had to coordinate with the physician to make sure that nothing about the ritual would be harmful to the patient who had a very unique condition. But we were able to coordinate that, and when the holy man came to the medical center, we were able to be their liaison to get them to where they needed to be. Because if you haven't been lately, we're getting really close to our 1.5 million square feet under one roof. So bring your walking shoes when you come. We were able to get him where he needed to be, able to interact with the bedside staff so they could be at ease that all this was going to be okay, because sometimes different is scary, and able to then help them get out of the building. While I do not know what the Hindu faith practice is, and I don't understand how that is important in their lives, I understand that it is. And the feeling that we had, because we were able to negotiate that for that family, y'all, I can't speak to how that makes me feel. That is just so important. And if I believe, like the promise says, that every child's life is sacred, then my role is to help them honor their child's life as sacred. It's not to convince them that Hinduism is wrong. It's to convince them that our God looks like someone who walks with you where you are. I love that about my job. I love that. And I trust that the Holy Spirit works in ways I don't see or understand to make that meaningful to the family, to the holy man who experienced nice Christians, to the staff who are looking on. It's all so incredible to me that in following our promise, we get to do these kinds of amazing things. That's just one story. I have hundreds. I'm not going to keep you. Take a deep breath. I'm not going to keep you. We also, if you come into the ED, because there's not just one ER, okay? That's what the TV show taught us. There was an ER. It's not just one room. It's a department. So it's the ED at our place. We have an emergency department, which is huge now. Anybody been to the new one? Huge. A little overwhelmingly huge, but a chaplain can find you. We can call your pastor to come in with you. And most of the times the pastors are like, great, we'll be right there. Sometimes they're like, where do I park? So we'll get you there too, in and out. Please feel free to ask any questions in the middle. I taught elementary school before God delivered me to chaplaincy. So I know about, I have a question right now. It's a burning question. We are now able to have in-house 7 days a week from 7:30 to 5 chaplains. That's brand new in July. Our weekend staff were not getting the support they needed. I went to the administration. I said, important stuff's happening and we're missing it. I have 2 wonderful chaplains who are in-house Saturday and Sunday. Isn't that exciting? It's so exciting. Such a great way to live out our promise. We also facilitate appropriate family presence. Pam, what does that mean? Well, it means if 70 of your closest friends come, we're probably not going to let you in. It happens, y'all. Some of you are very popular. But if there is an event that could be life-changing or life-ending, and you need 70 of your closest friends with you, we're going to help that to happen in a way that doesn't distract from other patient care and doesn't take away from our families or our staff. We're going to do that. We're going to make sure that you are comfortable with what's happening to your child as best you can be. We are not going to leave you alone if you don't want to be alone, or we're going to stay far away if you want us to stay far away. We are very good at that. We also, on a daily basis, sit with patients and families as their physicians and other care providers have very difficult conversations. We sit right there. We are part of the team. In the grown-up hospital, y'all, they might call somebody in after they've told you bad stuff to clean up the pieces of you falling apart. At Cook Children's, we know that's not the best way to do that. We're in on the front end of hard conversations. We're particularly gifted and talented in providing reflective listening so that everyone can feel heard, so that the table is level, and that we're not speaking from a position of power. We're speaking to you as someone on your team, caring for your child in ways that are eternally significant. And we are part of what gets to make that happen. Now, I may make it sound like the chaplains are the center of our universe. We're not. We understand that people don't come to the medical center to go to church. That's not what they're there for. They come to get their children well. But in that, God is present and active, and we can bring that to mind when it's appropriate. We don't make it about us when it's not. And if that should happen, you'll call me right away. We are part of the team that shows up for every trauma. So, we have this great helicopter. Actually, I think we have two. We have a jet. We have ground transport. We are amazing, just saying. And you have to be particularly gifted in certain ways to wear the cute little blue onesie that they all wear. Woo. Glad that's not a chaplain requirement. But when they go out to pick up a child, they call back in and say, we're coming. We'll be there in 20 minutes, or we'll be there in 6 hours, or whenever they'll be there. And we alert the team. We, being the medical center, alerts the team. There is a chaplain on that team who shows up, so that if your sweet boy or girl shows up at the medical center in the helicopter and you haven't made it yet, we are standing there with a prayer bear to put in the arms of your child so that they don't feel sad and lonely as much. And we stay right there. I have stood many times at the head of the bed talking in the child's ear, waiting quietly for mom or dad to show up. And mom and dad do show up, and they breathe a sigh of relief because they have imagined far worse than what's happening, as we parents do. And they are so grateful that someone has brought humanity to their child in that room. We are quiet. We are thoughtful. We are not hurry-scurrying like the medical center, like the medical professionals do, as well they should. They're doing all that. But we are the quiet, non-anxious presence who is with the child until someone who knows them and loves them can be there. Sometimes it takes a long time for somebody they love to get there. Sometimes it doesn't. We are, one of the things people don't know about us is that we provide staff care. Staff care, Pam, why does the staff need care? Well, think about it. People are often surprised to learn that staff support is an important part of what our pastoral care team does. Caring for sick and dying children carries an emotional and spiritual cost. It's not for everybody. I've had that conversation with our human resources folks, talent management, it's what we call us now. It's not for everybody. And it's better if we learn that up front than if we learn it when someone is really wounded. So that's an ongoing conversation. All of our caregivers, everyone, is susceptible to becoming weary with well-doing. I imagine that in this group of ladies, there are some of you that have experienced that wearying in well-doing. I would imagine you wouldn't be part of this group if you weren't about doing well, doing good things for people, being part of a group that makes a difference. But sometimes that is wearying. So we have ceremonial moments. We have hand blessings. We can have some casual take care of yourself venues. We call it a code lavender room. And we set up a room on the floor wherever they ask us, and we bring soft music. We have lavender room spray. We bring some little mandalas to color. We bring note cards that you can write to other staff or to patients and families. We bring some prayers that are printed. You might take one with you if you want, or you might just read it while you're there. We have comfy chairs that people can sit in while they take 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 minutes for themselves. We provide refreshments. We have a sweet and salty mix. We mix it ourselves, M&Ms, peanuts, and pretzels. We have hot tea, cocoa. We have not hot tea. We do a lot of things. We have porcelain cups that people have gifted us with, and we put those out with our code lavender cart. And we do that. We do crisis intervention. Sometimes you hear awful things on the news. It's important to pray for us when you hear those. And also important to know that the news is not always 100% accurate. It's not 100%. But after that has happened and the adrenaline has all left us and we are just limp as dish rags, pastoral care comes in and does debriefings where we all get together around the table, everybody that was involved, and we talk about it so that the people who picked the child up from the scene all the way to the people who got to discharge them home get the whole story. That increases resilience, it increases staff comfort, it decreases compassion fatigue. There's a lot of things that does. We get to do that too. Excuse me. All of these things are provided by well-trained pastoral care staff with the intent to increase resiliency and longevity of our coworkers. And we are so blessed to work with so many gifted people who also recognize that every child's life is sacred. Ladies, I could go on and on and on. I'm going to stop. I would take 2 minutes for any question you've just been dying to ask a chaplain all your life. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for the siblings?
Okay. John Anna asked, what do we do for the siblings? We do not put them in a hall and say, sit here and be still. We have the luxury of having more than one chaplain available during the day. So we might have a chaplain who sits with the child, or we will call our child life staff who are experienced and trained at that. And we might read them one of those beautiful books you all are providing today. We'll also take them a prayer bear. When their sibling's been hospitalized and they get a prayer bear, we will give the sibling a prayer bear. So we are mindful that we are not just caring for the one patient. We may have 7 patients in that family, 2 parents, 2 grandparents, and 2 siblings. So yeah, that's a good question. Something else? Ladies, it is such a pleasure. Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you, thank you. I so appreciate it. And if God brings us to your mind, please do pray. Please do. Yes, ma'am. Did you have one? Okay. All right. If you get a chance to come to Cook Children's, I hope you'll look us up. We are on the first floor, close to Main Street. So thank you, ladies.